Hey guys, I'm super excited to present you the first interview of a Windowsill Nepenthes grower. His name is Nathan, he comes from California and he grows Highlands. So let's discover how we do that.
Okay, first, thank you very much for accepting this interview and showing us your setup, your species. If you want to introduce yourself and start explaining what species that you have, that's great.
Thank you. So I'm Nathan. I'm from Southern California. I grow my Nepenthes in a 10-gallon fish tank on a window. And I don't use any grow lights, it's just natural sun. So the species I grow is Nepenthes Attenboroughii, or Attenboroughii, depending on how you pronounce it, Nepenthes Macrophylla, Nepenthes Lowii, Nepenthes Macrophylla, and debatably Nepenthes Edwardsiana. I'll tell you a little more about that later. Yeah, so Southern California, it stays more temperate here than it does in other parts of the state. Days are usually 70 through 85, I'd say. And the way it's set up, my roof overhangs the window a little bit, so it never gets true direct sun, which is perfect. So it never overheats the terrarium. If the terrarium is placed in direct sun, it overheats in about like nanoseconds. You have to be very careful about growing them in something glass, and I don't have any sort of fan in it. I was poised to get one, but I haven't really had the need so far. I haven't had very much mold growth or anything like that.
Okay. And where did you get your plants?
All right, so I got my Nepenthes Attenboroughii from Jeremiah. Jeremiah, he's a wonderful seller. Especially Attenboroughii. I think he's the only one that sells seed-grown Attenboroughii consistently. So I'd absolutely recommend him. Now, my Palawanensis I got from another grower in California. It was a private grower who just couldn't take care of it anymore, so I bought it for about $80, and it's gotten a lot bigger since then. And my Lowii I bought from another person on eBay. They were selling them in groups of 4, and they're so tiny. When I bought them, they came in like a little packet of sphagnum moss, and I couldn't find them at first. I was looking through it very carefully, and I couldn't find them. So I had actually pulled up the message box on the computer to tell the guy that he didn't actually give me any plants, but I finally found them, and they're so tiny, like a centimeter. Their sphagnum moss completely obscured them with one strand. And I almost lost some of the plants because they're just that small. But now they're much larger. They're, I don't know, I'd say 2.5 leaf span. I'll show you later.
How long do you have them? For how long?
Maybe 8 months now. I think that's a guesstimate. I got them. They were my second species. So after my first Attenboroughii, I got the 4 of them. And so my Macrophylla, I have one larger and one smaller from different growers. My smaller one was another kind of smaller seller who they had decent reviews on eBay, so I trusted them enough to buy one. And although it started fairly small, like 1/2 inch, it's gotten much bigger now in its cup. I might need to, I think it's good for a while before I repot it, but
and Macrophylla, you don't have, because that's supposed to be an island, so it's supposed to be cold at night, but it's still working on your tank. Interesting.
Right, so that's the other advantage of living near the coast in California, is that although this place does have 0 humidity, which is why I need the tank, it does have a temperature drop at night. Lately with the heat waves, it's thrown everything out of whack, but before that, it would get it to like 65 or 64 at night, which is a perfect temperature drop, really.
Yes.
Sometimes I have trouble getting it to that because they are inside behind the window, and I do open the window and I put the curtain around it, so that way usually it's more towards the outside temperature, but sometimes it stays at around 69 and won't go any lower. But they seem to do fine, even the Macrophylla, who I've heard like it a little colder.
Okay. Do you might show us the plants now?
Yes, absolutely. All right, so here are my Nepenthes Attenboroughii. The one you're looking at right now is my first Nepenthes. The picture here is kind of a yellowish red on the bottom. When the picture's first open, the body is very yellow, and then as they get older, it turns to kind of a reddish color. As you can see, there's kind of a dying picture over here, but it's got much more of a reddish tint to it. An interesting thing about Attenboroughii pictures is if they can help it, they do not want to grow it in the air. So this one is a lot longer than my normal pictures, and although I technically can't support that with evidence, I think it's sort of an upper picture because it's a lot skinnier and longer than my regular ones. But the picture on the right, the string's very long, especially because it was such a tiny plant back then when it grew it, and it grew it all the way down to the bottom of its pot, and I had a little rester I kept it on. That's this white thing here, and it was growing on it, but it was growing on one of the white things, but the pitcher was going to slip through, and I was worried to get caught in there. But so I moved it into the air again, and it stopped growing the pitcher halfway, and then extended the I'm not sure what you'd call it, the little string at the end of the leaves until it was rested around again. Sorry, what'd you say?
Tendril?
Tendril, that's a good word for it, thank you. The other interesting thing about this Attenboroughii, and I don't know if you can really see it very, very well, probably not, I guess, with the leaf in the way. But if you can see on the inside, there are actually insect larvae in it, which completely is beyond me since I keep my tank closed at all times with minimal airflow. But somehow they got in there, and that pitcher is dying. It kept the bottom open even though it's digested everything I fed it a long time ago, kind of like an overfeed. So I think the plant might actually be enjoying anything in there for food. And this is what he looks like. When I first got him, he was maybe 2 to 4 inches big, not very large. So he's actually grown a lot since then, in the year I've had him. The tendril leaf you see right now, the one growing, it's been that way for about 3 months. So this plant is super stagnant. And another thing I've observed with Attenboroughii, as you can see on the leaf facing us, the red splotches are because it grew when there was a different level of sun that the plant was getting. So each leaf, since it takes so unbearably long to grow a new one, is situated to the amount of sun it's getting. So if you move an Attenboroughii from a low sun environment into a high sun environment, the leaves will turn bright red. And while this doesn't necessarily mean the leaves will die, it definitely does indicate a little distress. So, and often the leaves will vary due to the season. So a few will turn red and a few will remain green. And here's my other Attenboroughii, smaller. I bought it from Jeremiah more recently. I don't know if you can tell color that well with the phone video, but this is actually kind of a pinkish yellow picture, which I'm excited about. I think it's kind of a mutation on the red because it's not a full fill on the pink. It seems kind of like a really faint color. If the sunlight directly hits it, it just appears regular yellow, but in the shade, it's more of a pink color. This one's actually been growing fairly fast compared to my other one. So the big leaf you can see, it has completely grown under my care, which is faster than any of my larger have.
Okay.
All right, so here is my...
the substrate is sphagnum, I see.
Sorry, what?
The substrate is sphagnum, I see.
Oh, yes, the substrate for these is just sphagnum.
Pure sphagnum?
I don't think it's living. I'm pretty sure it's just dead sphagnum.
Okay, but you don't mix with something else? It's just pure?
Sphagnum and perlite, I believe. This was from Jeremiah, and I haven't repotted these plants at all.
Okay.
So here, on the other hand, is my Nepenthes Macrophylla, the tiny guy. It might be a little hard to see his pictures. They are a little small, but this is, as far as I can tell, a Macrophylla. It's showing teeth on the picture, where it's going to take a little longer to see the big teeth, of course, but I'm fairly confident that this is the correct species. Okay. The sphagnum I put in there myself, so it is sphagnum and perlite, and this one is living sphagnum.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm. All right, and here's my other Macrophylla. I got this one from Kujiwa Orchids, And Kujiwa, if I'm even saying that right, it is. I don't know what to think about them yet because they have really awesome plants for sale. And if you couldn't tell, I like buying my plants small because not only do I have limited space to keep them, but you can also get them cheaper and seed grown, both of which are important to me. So this is the baby Macrophylla, and here's its friend, the legendary, possibly Edwardsiana, but I can't be 100% certain yet until it's grown larger. So that's why I can't necessarily make up my mind about Kujiwa orchids yet, because I've done my research and they seem like a great seller. But of course, buying an Edwardsiana that isn't obviously an Edwardsiana, or it's not 100% verifiable, is risky. As soon as I bought it, people were telling me like, dude, that's a Steinophylla. You got scammed. And thankfully, it's not a Steinophylla. I actually found a picture that...
You don't look Steinophylla. I have Steinophylla. And it looks too green to me to be a Steinophylla, sure. What is the substrate, this one?
I'm not actually sure. I believe it's coconut and some other stuff. I'm not actually certain on that one.
Okay.
Luckily, there's going to be a long time before I need to repot them. But I'm not actually sure of the substrate. They seem to be liking it. Edwardsiana likes it particularly dry, so I water this guy much less than any of my other plants, and seems to be doing just fine.
Okay.
All right, here's my Lowii. This is my smallest of the bunch, and here's my largest. So I have 4 of these. And,
oh, wow. Yes, you said that you bought them in the same time, right?
Yep, so they're all the same time. This guy's actually been getting the most light. Unfortunately, the one on the right, I have to kind of move back a little bit. And so it doesn't get as much light. Maybe that's why it's so much smaller than its brothers and sisters. But this is my larger Lowii. They're kind of starting to show a little color on the pictures. I believe these are from Mount Murud, but they could be from Chusmati. I wouldn't have any objections to that. And one other thing that you'll actually notice with my Nepenthes is that all their leaves are tilted forwards, like this one. That's because my light only comes from the windowsill. I don't have any light. So all the leaves, they'll automatically rotate to be facing the light.
Makes sense.
All right. Yeah, so here's my Highlands. It doesn't have very many great pictures to show at the moment, but as you can see, those leaf jumps on it are tremendous.
Mm-hmm. And I see that the tendril is really long too, so that's something that want to touch the ground. The picture are trying to touch the ground.
Doing its best. Here's a picture that's opened. It turns this red color, kind of like that one, and it keeps its green peristome with kind of a stripe on it when it's fully colored up. I kind of regret feeding this one so well because it's growing so fast. These leaf jumps, it's outgrowing my little tank here. So I'm kind of worried it's doing too well rather than not well enough. So I've heard Palawanensis is an intermediate plant compared to my Highlands. So maybe it's just my setup is a little more towards intermediate, and while my Highlands are just doing okay, this one's really thriving. So maybe that's it.
And if it's intermediate, you can put it on a windowsill, but outside the tank. I mean, so that's having a plant that grows too well. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I feed this guy so much. Anything I catch basically goes to this thing. None of my other plants are really able to eat except for my Attenboroughii, and they produce pitchers so infrequently that I'm terrified of overfeeding them because I don't want to go another month without a pitcher to ogle. So
what I tend to do is to feed the old pitcher.
Right.
So this way I always have like at least one good pitcher.
Yeah. So this guy, unfortunately, I feel terrible about this, and it's kind of due to his size. I think I was taking him out of the tank, and one of his pitchers caught on something. I'm not sure what, and unfortunately, it was torn off. even though I was being very gentle. So you have to be careful with these guys, especially when they're small. But I fed him 3 crickets and 1 fat moth recently, so I'm sure he's got a lot of nutrients. The pet shop is always kind of, the people working at the nearby pet shop are always confused when I go in there and I ask for 1 dead cricket. They're like, I don't want to keep a whole bunch, and it doesn't matter if it's alive or not. But I think they're starting to get to know me as they usually charge me $0.10 for 1 full-size dead cricket. So that's the upkeep cost, that and some distilled water. Since I do have the tank still running, I use reverse osmosis water to water these guys, but I have heard that they can do all right with less pure water compared to other carnivorous plants.
Yes, I have a video about that. What I would recommend is really rainwater.
Yeah.
If you can collect it, that's great. That's free.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I'm terrified of is root rot. Since all these Nepenthes are fairly towards the rare side, I bought them when they're small, so not all of these are as expensive as they'd sell from a larger seller like Jeremiah. Jeremiah waits until they're about this size as that Attenboroughii to sell, which is a smart marketing choice because then they can obviously see that it's what's promised. Although I don't think anyone would doubt Jeremiah. So there is one thing I want to ask you, and it's, have you ordered anything from Brad's nursery?
Yes.
I've seen Brad's nursery page online. It always breaks my heart because Brad's got all these super awesome species, like the Edwardsiana. I saw an Edwardsiana for sale just a month ago, and I was like ready to jump on that. But tragically, he doesn't ship to the U.S.
I have the same thing about like predatory plants.
Oh yeah.
All that I would love to buy like a Titan, for example. But no live plants will cross the border, sadly. So, but yes, Brad is really, first, he is really a nice guy. You can chat with him, asking questions, he reply, great advice, and yes, the plants are great, great package. The only thing is you have to take care when you order during winter because it's Canada. So winter here is not the same as winter on your place, California.
Yeah.
If you don't want the plant to freeze, you have to take care of the weather and having its pack, this kind of problem. But yes, Brad is really, he sells great plants, and I definitely recommend him.
Oh yeah, and the way I see it, Canada has Brad, and then the U.S. has Jeremiah. I don't know if Jeremiah will ship to Canada, but from the way you described it, probably not.
I checked, but no. U.S. You have also what is red leaf exotic?
Red leaf exotics, right? So I haven't ordered from these really big native exotics, red leaf, Pearl River. I haven't, and Predator. I haven't ordered from any of those. So I have a few specific preferences that a lot of people don't share. One is that I like my plants seed grown. With a few.
Can you tell us why?
I don't know why exactly. I kind of like the idea of having my plant and it's my own.
Unique.
I think what really scared me is when predatory plants for their truncata was like, we have thousands of these plants around the U.S. of the exact same one. I'm like, ooh, I don't really want that. I think the collector spirit that's motivated me to buy these makes me want to have original ones.
Yes, I understand that. And seed grown, you never really know because I grown some mirabilis from seeds, and they were not all the same. Some was pure green, some was really having red dots on it. Some had like pinkish color. So really seed grown, it's the surprise. You don't know the genes of the plant, so that's nice.
Oh yeah, there's definitely the surprise to it. So the Edwardsiana on the right, the pinkish color I'm excited about it. And I also have another theory, which I can't back up because I don't have enough plants to make sure. But I think Attenboroughii might change color pictures based on the climate it's in. Because when I bought this one, its first picture was green and red, and now it's yellow and pink. So I don't know if that's related or not. This one is also yellow, although I think it was hard to tell because when I got it, the picture was bright red. It does turn very red as it ages, but yeah, I think it might change picture color depending on climate, maybe. And I guess that's another thing I like. I like Nepenthes that vary in color a lot. When I was asking Jeremiah to buy a Nepenthes, and he's pretty good about that, where if he doesn't have something listed, then I'll email him and I'm like, do you have this? And usually he either says no or he'll go, yeah, I have this. And that's the deal with Attenboroughii. I was planning on buying another before this heat wave struck, and that kind of ruined my Nepenthes plans. And that is something you have to be careful of. Fortunately, with being at home and everything and being a high school student, I get to check on my tank a lot to make sure it's not overheating. And when I'm not at the house, I'll ask my family members, hey, can you just make sure it's not like 101 degrees in there? And I can't leave it outside during the day either, unfortunately. But you might do. That's why I am so excited about this channel, and I hope you do well, because a lot of the videos I see, and I mean, Brad and Jeremiah and all the rest of them are great sellers, and they're obviously devoted hobbyists. But when they go, oh yeah, it hasn't given me much trouble. It's pretty easy to grow, and then you can see their 50 square foot greenhouse in the back.
Yes, I'm jealous.
Then yeah, I don't know how much to believe that, but yeah. So it's really the temperature drop that saved me. I keep my window open at night, and I like it cold too.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter, no matter how cold it is for me. But I've looked into cooling options for even a tank this tiny, and there's nothing. Like, you either have to, well, I guess there are a few handheld air conditioner units that are usually scams, so I don't want to buy those. But it's either air conditioner or you better hope it's cool enough at night for these guys. I think so. That's really the only reason I'm able to keep highland, I think, and not just intermediate like most people, is because I do get that temperature drop at night.
Okay. If it's just because of the heat wave that you want to drop the temperature, what I've seen is people on the top of the tank having some glass, and in a bucket a big ice pack or something in contact with the glass, and something to hold the water thin. But yes, so the cold was getting inside, but that's just temporary. For the all year round, you don't want that. You are the great setup, having the windows open. That's great.
Yeah. So again, I don't have any air circulation. I haven't had a problem with bacteria or fungus. I did have some algae, I believe it is, when I was growing these guys. You might be able to see it in the pot here. Again, these are also made out of the bottom of bottles. It does not take much to grow these plants, really. I don't know if the color is good enough, but that is just there's a little bit of algae in there, and it didn't seem to bother the plant at all. So I haven't really bothered to repot it, but anytime I do have to, I just, brush it off, and it seems to do just fine.
Okay.
And in terms of ice, I've tried that too. I don't think the temperature was necessarily decreased by it too much, but I have heard that if you put it in the tank, that it'll lower the humidity. So that's one thing.
Okay, good to know.
Hey guys, I interrupt you just a minute to ask you a favor. Could you please like this video and consider subscribing, hitting the little bell? That's the best way for you to make sure you will see the next interview. So now let's go back to the interview.
Well, I do have another thing to talk about, and that's online forums for Nepenthes. So there are very few. The most active one that I found is on Reddit. It's the r/Savage Garden forum, along with like 2 smaller threads. And those you'll get like their posts per day. So that's the good part about that. Usually it's not Nepenthes. Nepenthes are rarer to see, especially anything other than Miranda and Ventricosa. But
Yes.
and then there's alternatively flytrap cariforums and I believe it's terrarium something. But you're lucky to get a post on there, like in the Nepenthes section per week. So there's some good stuff in the archives that I've been looking at, but Reddit's the more active forum, especially if you need help right away. But
Yes.
Carnivorous Plant, flytrap.com, that you can get some pretty good stuff if you look in the history of that website. So some of the smaller seedlings I have, I like to tilt towards the glass like this, and that's kind of to remedy the satellite style turning of the leaves. As you can see with, where is he? Here he is. This Nepenthes Lowii normally faces the glass like this, and you can see how elevated the back leaf is. So it gets it from the side instead of above. And that causes it to shift the leaves, which, it doesn't really seem to cause any problems other than altering the way the leaves face. They still seem to grow up and not to the side. But that's an interesting quirk I found. They will grow towards the light no matter where it's coming from.
Okay.
And I do have a silly little conspiracy theory about Nepenthes Edwardsiana, because I've been after that one for a long time now. I got a lot of these Nepenthes, especially my small ones, very early on. So about a year ago when I first joined this community. And they've been growing steadily since then. The possibly Edwardsiana and its Macrophylla friend I got recently from Kujio Orchids. But the other, I've been waiting for an Edwardsiana to come up for a while that I can jump on, and piling up money for that. But I have a conspiracy because Villosa is still very, very rare, even though it's not actually that rare in the wild. Because of cloning. So there are a lot of Villosa clones, and to be fair, that is also because certain clones are more hardy than others. But there are also a lot of Macrophylla clones, and Macrophylla is rarer in the wild than both Villosa and Edwardsiana. So I'm wondering, where are all the Edwardsiana clones, right? And so I have a silly little conspiracy theory that since there are so many Edwardsiana hybrids, but so few Edwardsiana themselves for sale, that there's secretly the growers want to keep the genes to themselves. But
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
If you try to buy from a well-known grower like Exotica Plant and all that clone makers, I would say, maybe they can have the pure species. But that's always harder to get, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. I guess I'm taking a break from buying right now since I just got my hands on that Edwardsiana.
Yes.
But in the future, maybe I'll look for a Villosa and then try and put that outside, since it does get a lot cooler out here. Although, again, it's the daytime temperatures that I have to worry about. I just have to be gentle because of that one incident where my Palawanensis lost a pitcher.
And it's happened to me. I just I have my biggest plant is Bongzo, and it was too big. It was overgrowing the other plants on the tray, and I decided to hold it like I don't know how to say that, on the hair, like the pot attaching on the ceiling, and I ripped a pitcher. One of the biggest pitcher. It was too big, and it gets stuck on something, and it was gone. So that's, yes, when you move the plants, it's...
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about what kind of species you grow. I know this is, I guess, my interview, but I'm interested too. I haven't really gotten the chance to talk with anybody. I think you said in your the advertisement that you, when you're back in France, you could visit other people.
Yes, that was really great. To drive an hour or two. Keep in mind, going from the south of France to the north, 8 to 10 hour maximum.
Right.
So France is really small, so it was, and a lot of people there. So it was really easy. But yes, and North America, that's huge continent, and we are not a lot of grower yet, and that's why this channel will be helping, I hope. But for my own plans, I plan to do a video. Probably I will film that in a month or two. For now, we had a big heat wave also in Canada, in Manitoba. The plants were not damaged, but some skip pictures. So that's not the greatest time for me to show it. But yes, in a month, now that temperatures are dropping, we are close to fall now. That's gonna be one of the video I will do, explaining the species I have, and I hope it will help too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I look forward to that video. But America's a big place, even though California, I'm not sure how that measures up against France, but I've never, we've had COVID for a lot of the time I've had these plants, but not only have I never seen a Nepenthes in person that belongs to someone else, but I've never actually talked to someone. Oh, well, I haven't talked to someone who currently grow them. So anecdote, I was at the Home Depot and I was looking for like a plastic pot. So my secret to repotting is that I just don't mess with the soil at all. I just put it in a bigger pot. And I mean, I haven't had any repotting problems, so maybe it works or maybe not. But the person there's like a Home Depot employee, and I couldn't find any plastic pots, only clay ones. But they asked me what I was growing. I'm like, you're probably not going to understand this, but I need it for a Nepenthes palawanensis. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're going to need a big pot. And I'm like, you know what that is? And she's like, yeah, my mother used to grow them. And nice. So I can't believe there's someone who knew the species by its scientific name just working at Home Depot. But I guess there's a community out there. We're just waiting for someone like you to unite us.
And that's really nice. I hope, yes, more and more will share their setup. If we can know better, like finding new tips and tricks, that would be great for all of us.
Oh, for sure. Especially with Attenboroughii. I don't think there is a care page for them or any website that's published their care requirements. I was looking for that at first, and there was one page in flytrap care forums for it, and it was someone asking for care tips, and no one really responded with anything helpful. That was years and years ago. So I was considering making one myself, although it's kind of hard to say because I have these two plants. At the time, I only had one. So it's difficult to say whether it's really like a habit of the species or just the ones I have. But I think it would be really nice if we could have a little more talking with the Nepenthes community. Back in the saltwater tank community, obviously there are a lot more people with saltwater tanks than there are with Nepenthes, which I guess is another draw of this, that if you have a Nepenthes Attenboroughii, you're one of a few dozen in the world that has that. It's the same with a lot of other species of Nepenthes that you find a little less frequently. But if you go online for a Nepenthes species that isn't very common, then you're kind of just going to have to figure it out for yourself, especially if it's just in your windowsill and not in a fancy greenhouse.
Okay, but if you're I'm having trouble with this name, Attenboroughii or something like that. If they grow well on your windowsill, maybe I don't know, maybe in a year, I will ask you to do kind of a species review, because I don't have this plant at home, and definitely that's not regular plants. There is the Ventrata, Lata, Maxima, all that classic one, but your plant is not the most common, and even for me it was kind of a rare. So you having this as a first plant, it's bold.
Oh yeah. Well, I was actually looking. I was brand new to Nepenthes. Like, I'd been looking at them on the market or not even on the market. I was just looking at plant species and photos on the internet. And of course, Attenboroughii was found to be eating a shrew. So it's one of the more popular Nepenthes for people to show photos of, because, I mean, who wouldn't want to broadcast a rat-eating plant story? But I found it and I was like, oh, that's a really cool species. I love the bell shape. And then fate wanted me to have one because, like, a week after I discovered the species, Jeremiah put up one for sale, and so I got it. Yeah. So I took the opportunity, and I was very worried at first. I didn't always keep it in this tiny aquarium. I actually kept it in an even smaller aquarium.
Okay.
It was like a glass vase, and I don't know. I don't think it was very good looking back. It worked because the plant was alive. It didn't actually lose any leaves, although it wasn't great at producing pictures in there. But they're resilient, much more resilient than saltwater stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely nice to have these.
Okay. Nice. So maybe we will talk again on this species.
Maybe. And if my Edwardsiana gets bigger, and it does prove to be an Edwardsiana and not some scam plant, which, again, I have every reason to believe it is what it's supposed to be, and that Kujiwa is legit. But Edwardsiana, man, I admit I've fallen for one of the scams. I bought seeds that looked genuine because the person had, like, pictures of them with the plant in nature. And they said they got it legally, and then they sent me the seeds after I paid for them, and, like, their little fake document expired 2 years ago, and the seeds didn't grow. So be careful with them. I can't say that you should only buy from reputable growers, because I don't myself. I took some risks, and hopefully they'll pay off. I do, look into them quite a bit before I buy them, but I don't know if I can quite afford what the native exotics and all of those people are selling. I've posted a picture of, I think, only my Attenboroughii. That's the only one I've showed online. And that's because I know I've talked about this species a lot, but it's really interesting because the only seed-grown batch that I know of, or the only two, is one that was like in 2009 when they first discovered the species, and they brought back some seeds. And then recently, Jeremiah got his hands on another batch. And so he's really the only one I know selling seeds consistently. And so if people have plant Attenboroughii, that's not one of the only two largest ones in captivity, then you know that it's from, like, the same seed batch or whatever. So they're likely siblings.
Okay, nice. Okay, thank you for sharing all this to us. It's already, I will do the cuts, but it's already 40 minutes. So
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yes. That was really nice to talk to you and to see all your kind of a fancy species. They are tiny, but definitely a lot of potential great plants there.
Yeah, I buy them while they're small. I don't mind. There's a little bit of risk involved, but hopefully they'll grow to be large, and maybe seeds.
To have new tanks.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna need something else to keep this Palawanensis in. It's gonna get bigger. Gets a few inches bigger each leaf it puts on. But maybe I'll just. An aquarium is expensive for what it does. Like, I just need a bag, really, to put it in to keep the humidity in, because that's the only thing I need.
Did you try the indoor greenhouse, like the one with the plastic wrap?
Right. So I'm considering getting one of those for sure. The heat wave kind of put a stop to my plans. I was actually considering trying something outside, which I guess would go against the whole windowsill thing. But as you might have been able to tell earlier, when we were trying to find good lighting, there's a lot of shade, and then there's a lot of very bright spots, and there's very little in between. So yeah, it's a rough thing, but you figure it out eventually.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I really hope your YouTube channel takes off.
Thank you to you to share with us your species and setup and it's quite
I'm
useful.
glad I could. Hopefully we see some other people come out and share what they have. I'd be really interested in watching that.
Okay, perfect. So have a great day. It's already almost night in Canada. So enjoy the rest of your day and see you later.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. If you want to show us how you grow your Nepenthes on your windowsill, please contact me and I will be more than happy to set the same interview with you. And until next time, happy growing!